Good evening, friends. God bless you. Let us continue our study in how we can cast our burden on God or how we can live burden free. And we are going to focus on particularly verse 7 from 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. I'm going to read starting with verse 5. Likewise, you who are younger, be subject to the elders. Clothe yourself, all of you, with humility toward one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. This anxiety word is in ESV. In some translation it calls out casting all your cares, but I think the Greek word is translated correctly here as anxiety, casting all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Now, if you read slowly these verses, you will catch certain things that I have missed so many times. And that is the point here is that casting your anxiety on God has something to do with humbling yourself. So humbling yourself and casting your anxiety on God has some relationship. The second thing is casting your anxiety on God is crucial. If you are going to humble yourself under God's hand and clothe yourself with humility toward each other. So, if you casting your anxiety on the God is crucial because you have to become humble. In other words, casting your anxiety on God is not simply a separate thing that you do after you humble yourself. It is something you do in order to humble yourself. Let me say again, casting your anxiety on God is not simply a separate thing that you do after you humble yourself. So it is not that you humble yourself and then cast your anxiety on God, but it is something you do. That means you cast your burden, something you do in order to humble yourself, or in the process of humbling yourself, you cast your burden on God. Let me give you some example and we'll come back again on this particular verse 7. In Matthew chapter 14, verse 28, let me read 28 to 32. Lord, where Jesus walks on the water, and Peter wanted to walk on water. And Peter answered him, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. He said, come. So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying to him, O you of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. And those in the boat worshipped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God. So the statement here, if you follow, number one is Peter is a fisherman from the beginning, from childhood. He knows how to swim. We know that on that day after Jesus got resurrection, Jesus was standing on the shore, and when Peter and his friends were fishing whole night, they didn't catch nothing. And when Jesus told them to cast the net, they got boatload of fish. And when when Peter found out it is Jesus, he jumped in the water and he swam to the shore. We knew that he knows how to swim. But when he was drowning in the sea, he throw his burden, that his anxiety. You know, if you look in the dictionary, that the meaning of anxiety is it is something that imminent, and you don't know the outcome. That is anxiety. You don't know what will happen. So Peter started drowning, and he don't know what will happen, and he cried out. Basically, he threw his worries, his anxiety on Jesus. Now, Jesus hold his hand. Jesus, remember, Jesus did not rebuke the wind at this moment. Jesus did not rebuke the crashing waves, but he took care of Peter first. Because what the verse we read in verse 7, 1 Peter 5:7, that cast your anxiety on him because he cares for you. For Jesus, the circumstances, the issues, the problems we called is nothing. He cares for us. So he cared for Peter. He grabbed hold of Peter and they both came into the boat. They both came into boat. When they came into boat, then it says that when, verse 32, and when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. And those in the boat worshiped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God. Now they become humble. All the disciples, they become humble. And they worshiped Jesus and said that truly, we are humble. Truly, you are Son of God. So if you follow the sequence, first they cast their burden. Peter cast burden, his anxiety on Jesus. And in a return, when he threw his anxiety on Jesus, then the true humility, true humbleness came in him. And they bow down and they said, truly, you are. They worship basically. And they says that truly you are Son of God. So what I said, let me repeat again. Casting your anxiety on God is not simply a separate thing that you do after you humble yourself. It is something you do in order to humble yourself. Or in the process of humbling yourself, you cast your anxiety or burden on God. Let me point out one more thing. Luke 19:35. We know it's related to Palm Sunday. The word casting their garment, they cast their garment in verse 7, that 1 Peter chapter 5:7 occurs one time in the New Testament, Luke 19:35. The same exact word, casting, is, and on Palm Sunday, what disciples did? They went and they brought the donkey for Jesus. And verse 35 says they brought it to Jesus and casting their garments on the donkey, and there Jesus sat on it. Now, the same word is used for casting in 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7. Cast your anxiety. So now what happened? Think this way. Now when disciples and the people throw or cast their garment on a donkey, who is carrying the garment? The donkey is carrying the garment. The weight of the garment is now on a donkey. The garment people were wearing, so first, initially, the weight of the garment was on a people. But when they took out their garment and they cast their garment on a donkey, now the weight shifted on a donkey, and donkey is carrying the weight of the garment. It is the same way when God is calling us to cast our anxiety on a Jesus, and he is the one. Like donkey was carrying the burden or the weight of the garment, Jesus is willing to carry our burden. We have to cast on him. Now, one of the greatest thing in the Bible, if you see, is God is commanding us. He is commanding us to let him work for us before commanding us to work for him. This is strange. God is commanding us to let him work for us before he asks us to work for him. Matthew 11:28, if you read, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. First you come, let me work for you. If I work, I will give you rest. And then God is saying that then you will be, once you are in a restful state, then you will be able to work. Isaiah 46:4 says that even to your old age, I am he, to gray hairs I will carry you. I have made and I will bear. I have made you and I will bear you. I will carry and will save. Let me read again. Isaiah 46:4 says, even to your old age, I am he, and to gray hairs I will carry you. I have made and I will bear. I will carry and will save. Isaiah 64:4 also says same thing. From of old no one has heard or perceived by the ear. No eye has seen a God besides thee, who works for those who wait for him. So when Peter is saying that, you need to be humble, of course. But how you become humble? You have to cast your anxiety, your burden on Jesus, and that will lead you to become humble. We'll continue our study. I'm taking a small steps so you can meditate on it again. Read again, First Peter chapter 5, and you can see that what is a connection between humbleness and casting your burden on Jesus. When you cast your burden, that will lead you to become humble. When you cast your anxiety on Jesus, then you will become humble. When Peter threw away his anxiety, his worries, his burden on Jesus, then when they came into boat, then the wind ceased. Then the crashing waves stopped, and they realized, they become humble, they worship God and said that truly, Jesus, you are God. May God open your eyes to see the dynamic what Peter is explaining here. God bless you and thank you.